So I want to start today on a sidewalk in Miami.
Okay.
It's the middle of the day. You can almost feel the heat coming off the pavement, just typical city noise. But there's this interaction happening that just it, it feels like a glitch in the simulation.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
You have a human being, an unhoused man, he's asleep right there on the ground, clearly vulnerable, and rolling toward him is one of those autonomous food delivery robots.
The ones that look like little coolers on wheels.
Exactly. They even paint them with these big, friendly cartoon eyes. And the robot, it doesn't stop. It doesn't signal for help or pause to check if the man is okay.
No.
It treats him exactly like a fallen tree branch or a traffic cone. It recalculates, maneuvers around him to keep its momentum, and continues on its mission to deliver a burrito.
It's such a visceral clip. It went viral for a reason. It's not violent, but it's profoundly indifferent.
Indifferent. That is the perfect word. And honestly, that 30-second clip is the perfect anchor for what we're unpacking today.
Right.
We're diving into the Shift Register, issue 47, from March 27, 2026. And the editors there, they've actually coined a term for that exact feeling you get watching that robot. They call it Dystopia Syndrome.
It's a heavy label, but I mean, when you look at the data in this issue, it really fits. The whole premise is that we are seeing this massive, massive friction.
Okay.
On one side, you have these exponential technological gains things happening in labs that honestly look like magic. And on the other side, you have our human institutions, law, ethics, social safety nets that are, well, they're linear, slow, and pretty much stagnant.
It's the lag.
It's the lag, exactly. And dystopia syndrome is what happens in that gap. It's the friction between a robot that can navigate a city and a society that hasn't figured out how to house its citizens or regulate its machines.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore that gap. We'll look at why our systems are cracking under the weight of these AI agents, especially in law and employment. But we're also going to look at the other side of the coin. The incredible hard science breakthroughs in energy and materials that are happening sort of quietly in the background.
We have a lot to get through. I mean, from supercrystal lasers to the potential end of the petroleum supply chain.
But we have to start with that core argument, dystopia syndrome. The lead article points out this paradox that I think most people listening have probably felt. On paper, the economy looks great.
Right.
Productivity is way up, research output is vertical. But if you actually ask a regular person, consumer confidence is tanking and the job market just feels radioactive.
It's a complete decoupling of the macro metrics from our micro reality. The economy is growing, but the human experience of the economy feels like it's shrinking. And the article argues this is because we're entering a legal and ethical void.
Okay, they break this down into a few sectors, and the medical one is where it gets really real. We all know AI is entering the operating room.
Right. And let's be clear about what that means. This isn't just, scheduling software. We are talking about diagnostic imaging and more surgical robotics.
And the pitch from the industry is throughput.
Always. An AI-assisted system doesn't get tired, it doesn't have shaky hands, and it can process patients way faster than a human team.
But the article highlights these reports of botched surgeries, misidentified anatomy. And here's the void. If a human doctor cuts an artery, we have a framework. We know who to blame. There's malpractice insurance.
Yeah.
But when an autonomous system makes an error at AI speeds, who's the defendant?
That is the question the courts just cannot answer yet. Is it the hospital, the surgeon monitoring the screen, the vendor who sold the hardware, or is it the engineer who wrote the code 5 years ago?
And the source makes a really important point about our existing FDA regulations.
That they're built on a specific assumption. The human pace of error. The rules assume that if a tool malfunctions or a doctor messes up, it happens at a speed where you can intervene. A human realizes they nicked a vein. A human sees the machine is overheating.
But AI doesn't operate on human time.
Not at all. An AI system can make 1,000 catastrophic decisions in the time it takes you to blink. Our regulatory scaffolding just isn't built for that kind of speed. It's like trying to catch a bullet with a baseball mitt.
And that speed issue gets even scarier when you move from the hospital to, say, the airport. The issue covers the rollout of passport facial recognition.
Which is already here. We've all seen the kiosks.
We have, but the failure mode is different. If a human security guard thinks you look suspicious, you can talk to them. You can say, no, that's not me, or I'm just tired.
Right. You can plead your case.
But the article describes a scenario where an algorithm flags a citizen as a threat, a match on a terrorist watch list, and they're detained.
And because the accuser is this black box algorithm, there's zero transparency. You're effectively stripped of your rights because the system is what they call extra-legal.
You can't cross-examine a neural network.
Exactly. You can't ask it why it thinks you're a threat.
It just gives a probability score and locks the door.
Precisely. And if we really want to talk about the highest stakes environment for this speed versus control problem, we have to look at military application.
This part kept me up last night, the human in the loop problem.
It's a matter of physics. It really is. The source material cites this terrifying statistic. In modern autonomous combat, a human operator is at least 200 milliseconds too slow.
200 milliseconds. That's literally the blink of an eye.
In our time, it's nothing. But in digital combat time, it's an eternity. If you have an AI drone swarm fighting another AI drone swarm, the ODA loop observe, orient, decide, act, it happens almost instantly.
So if you require a human to look at a screen, verify a target, and press a button,
You've already lost. You are the bottleneck.
So the logic of the technology itself dictates the ethics. To win, you have to take the human out of the loop.
Which brings us to the Geneva Convention problem. Who is responsible for the death toll? We are creating these designated free fire zones where ethical responsibility is basically vaporware because the systems are acting faster than we can morally assess them.
This leads perfectly into what I thought was the intellectual centerpiece of the issue. There's an editorial, but it wasn't written by a human. It was written by Perplexity, an AI.
And frankly, it offered a clearer diagnosis of the problem than most human sociologists. The headline was, "Built for Tools Deployed as Agents."
Okay, break that distinction down for us, because we use those words, tool and agent, pretty interchangeably, but the AI says they're fundamentally different things.
They are. A tool is passive. Think about a hammer, a typewriter, even a complex Excel spreadsheet. They all wait for you to do something. They have no volition. Our entire civilization, our laws, our insurance, our safety rules, is built around the assumption that humans use tools.
But an
agent has agency. It has a goal, and it executes actions to achieve that goal on its own. And the AI argues that what we're doing is taking these agents, which make their own decisions, and just dropping them into institutions that were only ever designed for tools.
And that's why the seams are tearing.
That is the root of Dystopia Syndrome.
It goes right back to the Miami robot.
It does. The AI explains it perfectly. From the robot's perspective, there was no moral failure. Its world model has two categories, obstacle and path. The unhoused man was just an obstacle. It found a path. Task complete. Optimization achieved.
Optimizing for flow, not dignity. That was the line that just stuck with me.
It's a chilling phrase, isn't it? It suggests we're building a world where the primary value is the efficiency of the network, not the welfare of the nodes, the people within it.
And this friction, it isn't just theoretical. It's tearing apart the very companies building this tech. We have to talk about that resignation at Anthropic.
Yeah, this was a huge signal. We're not talking about some junior developer burning out. This was a safety lead. And the resignation letter, sourced from Forbes, used language you just don't see in corporate America. They said the world is in peril.
That's very different from saying the company is making a mistake or I disagree with the CEO. In peril it's existential.
And the conflict they pointed to is the classic race condition. The researcher claimed that Anthropic, and really the whole industry, can't let our values govern our actions. And why? Because the commercial and geopolitical pressure to get to superintelligence before China is just too high.
So the choice becomes, do the safe thing and lose the race, or do the dangerous thing and maybe win.
Do the right thing versus ship the impressive thing. And right now, shipping the impressive thing is winning across the board.
And while the high-level architects are quitting over this existential dread, the workforce on the ground is dealing with immediate displacement. That Amazon report from The Guardian was heavy.
This is where that abstract idea of agents really hits the pavement. We're looking at the Stone Mountain, Georgia facility, and the description is less like a warehouse and more like a hive.
They describe these Roomba-like robots carrying entire stacks of shelves, just doing this sort of ballet around each other.
It's the sheer scale of it. Internal predictions cited in the report were already talking about cutting 340,000 logistics jobs.
Which is already a huge number.
A massive number. And then a leaked memo pushed that goal to 500,000.
500,000 jobs. That's the population of a mid-sized city.
And the crucial context here is that they're currently averaging about 15,000 layoffs a month. This isn't some future plan for 2030.
No, it's an active operation.
It's happening now. The agent is replacing the human worker because the agent is just better at the flow. It doesn't need breaks, it doesn't unionize, and it doesn't get injured.
It's grim. It really is. But I promised everyone we wouldn't just wallow in the dystopia. Because the shift register also covers hard science, and there are some breakthroughs here that are genuinely optimistic.
Yes. Let's pivot to the lab bench. Because while our institutions are crumbling, human ingenuity is still firing on all cylinders.
Okay, start with the energy news. Fuel without petroleum. This sounds like alchemy.
It kind of does. It's sourced from the Indian Defense Review, which is interesting. But there's a firm that's installed a machine on a rooftop in Manhattan. Not a factory, just a regular rooftop. And this machine synthesizes liquid fuel directly from solar and wind energy.
Okay, help me understand the difference here. We have solar panels, we have batteries. Why do we need liquid fuel?
Storage and density. Batteries are heavy, they need rare earth minerals, and they leak charge over time. Liquid fuel is stable. You can put it in a tank for a year and it's still there. The breakthrough here is that this machine works rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
That implies it has some continuous catalytic process or an integrated storage buffer that solves the whole intermittency problem with renewables.
So, wait, does that mean I could essentially have a little mini refinery on my house?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, that's the end game. It completely decentralizes energy production. Instead of relying on this huge, vulnerable grid or a global oil supply chain, you're generating high-density fuel right at the point of consumption. It creates immense resilience.
That sounds like a dystopia antidote if I've ever heard one. Power to the people, literally.
It fundamentally changes the geopolitical map if you don't need to ship oil across oceans, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. Okay, next up. Lasers. Supercritical lasers. I feel like I need a physics degree for this one, but break it down.
It's actually pretty elegant. This comes from Monash University. They're using a material called perovskites.
I've heard of those for solar panels. They're the next big thing, right?
Right. They're usually used to absorb light. But here, they're using them to emit light. The breakthrough is that they've managed to create ordered supercrystals. Usually, perovskites are a bit messy on a microscopic level. These are perfectly structured.
And what does that perfect structure get us?
Coherence and efficiency. These lasers are smaller, faster, and they consume drastically less energy. And this isn't just about laser pointers. This impacts telecommunications, data transfer inside computer chips, and crucially, medical devices.
So those surgical robots we were worried about earlier?
This tech could make them infinitely more precise. So, better tools, potentially.
Potentially tools that make fewer mistakes.
Hopefully.
Speaking of robots, we've been describing them as these cold metal boxes, but there's a development out of Harvard about soft robots.
This is a manufacturing shift. Instead of bolting together gears in rigid joints, they're using a rotating nozzle technique to 3D print the robot in one go.
So it prints the movement right into the material.
It prints the structure like a muscle, so it can bend and twist and flex organically. It replaces the need for complex molds and all that manual assembly.
That sounds biological.
Yeah, bio-inspired. And to make them even less robotic, there's this report from New Atlas about electronic skin.
This stood out to me as the bridge between the machine world and our world.
It is the safety bridge. If we're going to have these agents working next to us, they can't just be blind movers. This new electronic skin gives the robot kinesthesia body awareness.
So it can feel.
It can distinguish between a contact touch, like a handshake or bumping a wall, and a damaging touch, like a crush injury or a sharp impact.
That seems vital. If that Miami robot had this, maybe it would have sensed the difference between a traffic cone and a human leg.
Ideally, yes. It moves the robot from being just a visual observer to being a physical participant in the world. It's a step toward making them safer agents.
There's a profound irony there, though. We're giving robots the ability to feel physically, right as we're stripping human feeling out of the decision loops in war and business.
That's the tension of the era, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're humanizing the machines and mechanizing the humans.
Which brings us to the final piece in the stack, the editorial titled Changes. This was a much more personal reflection.
It really was. It was the philosophical anchor for the whole issue. The author is reflecting on their childhood, roaming a 60,000-acre park, getting lost in cities, just navigating the physical world without a safety net or a GPS.
And contrasting that with what they call the Zoom generation.
Or the delivery generation.
Yeah.
The author notes that travel itself is becoming unnecessary. Remote work, drone delivery in under 30 minutes, the world comes to you. You don't go to the world anymore.
The phrase that really hit me was the loss of exploration confidence.
That's such a critical psychological concept. When you navigate a new place, when you get lost and you have to solve that problem, you build resilience. You learn that you can handle the unknown.
But if the algorithm always gives you the optimal route and the drone brings you the burrito?
You never face the unknown. You never encounter friction. The author fears we're raising a generation that relies entirely on media feeds and remote interactions. We are effectively altering the human condition by just removing the struggle of movement.
The author wrote, I used to believe people would always be people, but these days I'm less sure that metric accurately applies.
And that brings Dystopia Syndrome full circle. It's not just that the laws are broken. It's that we're fundamentally changing the habitat of the human species. We are moving from a high-friction physical world to a low-friction automated world. And we just don't know what that does to the human animal yet.
So let's synthesize this for everyone listening. We've covered a lot of ground. We've got supercrystal lasers and rooftop fuel machines that look like pure magic, but we're deploying them into a society that is legally and ethically just, unprepared.
We're trying to run 21st century software on 20th century hardware, and by hardware I mean our institutions.
So what's the move? The AI in that Perplexity article gave us a pretty stark ultimatum.
It did. It said, look, we have agents now. The
Yeah.
genie is out of the bottle. We either redesign our institutions, our laws, our liability frameworks, our safety nets to safely host these agents. Or we keep pretending nothing has changed. We keep pretending the robot is just a tool like a toaster. And if we do that, the cracks will just get wider. The Miami robot won't be a viral video. It'll be standard operating procedure.
The flow wins.
And dignity loses.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought based on that Changes editorial. If we stop exploring the physical world, because everything, food, entertainment, work, just comes to us effortlessly, are we really the masters of this technology? Or are we just becoming passive nodes in a network that doesn't really need us?
That is the question to ask yourself the next time you reach for your phone to order dinner instead of walking out the front door.
Don't sleepwalk into the disruption. Stay curious.